Hey everybody, welcome back to Totally That Stupid the podcast. As you may or may not know, I'm Jonathan. He's Reed. We don't really have an agenda today. We're just gonna sort of talk about some stuff that's
Freewheel.
the freewheel. Uh, uh,
Freebase. Oh, wait, no.
Freebase, freestyle, what?
Oh, maybe it's freestyle. Maybe that's what I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
maybe that's it.
I'm pretty sure it's not
So
freebase.
out driving around this morning. So it's as we're recording this, it's 4th of July weekend.
And
Uh,
hotter than 10 hells.
it's a little hot here too, but being a holiday weekend and being summer in the Northwoods, the interesting cars are out.
Hmm.
Saw some, you know, 30s and 40s stuff driving around. At the farmer's market, there was a guy in a beautiful Vanagon Synchro with a sticker on the side. I took a picture of it, but I didn't get a good chance to look at it. But we'll put the picture up. Um, like the 50 years or however, whatever year anniversary it is of Route 66. And the car was from Washington State. So I don't know if he's doing like a road trip and just ventured up here after winding up in Chicago or
Hmm.
how it worked. But he came and went really quickly. So I didn't get a chance to like kind of poke at him a little bit. But
Yeah.
like, wow, you're driving a van again all around the country with a basset hound in it.
Did it
It
sound like a Vanagon or did it sound like a Subaru?
sounded like a Vanagon.
Okay. Okay.
So I think it might still be a Vanagon
Brave
underneath.
soul.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. I mean, the thing was beautiful. But the
Hmm.
other noteworthy thing, and I didn't get a picture of it because I was driving, was a Maserati bi-turbo convertible on what appeared to be Jeep chassis, Bronco chassis. It was full on 4x4 bi-turbo convertible.
Did it have the Prelude seats?
It drove by me going the other way. I couldn't see it,
Ah.
but I, even Chris was like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "That
That's
is a bi-turbo-ish."
that's sort of like the idiot bastard version of the what was it called? The Excellence or the Excellent, the 107 Mercedes that Clarkson put on a truck chassis.
I was actually thinking about, wasn't it a SLK 230 that Mercedes did that with, that yellow one with the
I I don't know if
trailer?
they did it or they just had it for a while. I think some
Mhm.
dude did that, but he put it on like a manual diesel G-Wagon.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I saw that car in person. It also had the matching, trailer
Yep.
with it, and it was that bright yellow color. That it was a neat car.
Yeah. We'll put a
Trying to
picture up of
remember.
that also. I'm just going
Um,
to do a quick bi-turbo 4 by
and what's
4.
funny is they called that the GLK before there was a GLK.
Right.
Of course, then when there was a GLK, it didn't look like a SLK with a truck chassis.
Yeah.
But we
Well, this,
digress.
yeah.
Actually, the yellow GLK actually brings up an interesting point. So one of the things, and I did not plan this, one of the things that we've talked about lately, um, and close your ears, children, but is the whole idea of is it factory or is it fuckery?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, the GLK is probably an extreme example because regardless of whether it's factory, it's fuckery.
Right.
But in a really sort of pretty well executed way. I'm trying to remember. I think I actually drove that thing once or sat in it when the Classic Center had it. And I remember it was a stick and you sat way up high. And it was really bizarre to be sitting in a low slung convertible, but up high. Because
Mhm.
basically you couldn't really see out like you can in a truck, except you were above everything. So I mean, you sort of get where these monster truck guys come from. It's sort of what it felt like. But that was, like I said, it was a really well executed thing. And I know they
Thing.
used it for like driving across Europe. They might have used that to like, drive to, Beijing or something. I forget. I'll have to look that up. But that to me is sort of an extreme example of, you have to look at it and say, okay, did the factory make that or or did some dude like build it in his garage or somewhere in the middle, right? I
Mhm.
mean, again, extreme example. I mean, most of what we've been talking about with this whole factory or fuckery thing is more detail stuff, isn't it? I mean, you know,
So recently there was a 322 Range Rover on one of the auction sites, and it was an early one. I think it was a BMW powered one,
nothing
and
wrong with that.
that's not what made it terrible. What made it terrible was the interior was redone in really questionable materials. It had a really kind of cheesy body kit on it. It had wheels that were too big and too gaudy, and some, Pep Boys grill and this and that all tacked onto it. And you think to yourself, geez, like who the hell would do that to a Range Rover? And then you think, oh wait, Range Rover, like Mercedes and Porsche, have these departments that will do basically whatever you want.
And
Now,
you're
these
willing to
are
pay for.
whatever you're willing to pay for. And I
Yeah.
think Rolls-Royce has a few standards around it because Rolls-Royce, but I think some of these other ones will be like, yeah, if you have the money, we don't care.
Yeah.
And so it popped in my head. It's the execution was done well enough, it could have been factory. The aesthetics were horrific. And I think we're not going to put a picture of this up because, like, we're not going to internet shame some dude's car because it did actually sell on
Yeah.
that auction site. But again, that's a great example of it's borderline.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
be factory,
Did
albeit
it come that way? Right.
or did somebody order that or did somebody make that? And that's sort of the basis of factory versus fuckery,
And
right?
I think in the case of that one, I'm reasonably sure, and I don't remember if the auction said, but just in a vacuum, I'm reasonably sure that somebody made that.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I think because you and I talked about it at the time, and I do think we landed on full fuckery.
yeah. But I mean, there are others that you see that are kind of like, wow, I mean, does that come that way? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not all just like the personal department at, Porsche or whatever, the individual at
Mm,
BMW, whatever. I mean, some of it is just you could check that box. Don't know why the hell you would.
yeah.
You could. Well, and you see it a lot. I am not a fan at all of diamond pattern seating.
No,
I don't like it. To me, it's sort of the modern version of tufted velour with the buttons.
right.
Like in old Cadillacs and Buicks and Oldsmobiles and stuff,
Yeah,
and old being the 80s and 70s.
yeah.
To me, I see these S classes, I see these, various cars with the diamond pattern seating. And in my mind, I always go to, why did you do that to a perfectly nice S-Class Mercedes? They
Right.
came that way. I mean,
Yeah.
that was, you could get that upholstery in that car. Again, I mean, I guess I'm giving up my, the free Mercedes that they were going to give me because we have so many followers. Um, but what was I
Funny you
saying?
haven't mentioned that before.
Yep. Um, but that to me, that's the factory side of it. It's like, yeah, no, it comes that way. And you see some of these with the diamond pattern floor mats and stuff. And it's just like, hey, it's a lot of diamond. In my mind, diamond pattern was what they used to use when I lived overseas. We had school buses that had these big engine humps. They were flat front buses with the engine hump. And the engine humps were always covered in black vinyl in a diamond pattern. So
Yeah.
when I see this in any car, whether it's on the seats or the floor, my brain goes to school bus from, 1981.
Well, and it's funny you say that because also on the auction sites and in other venues, you see these custom vans that are up for sale. And a lot of them have that diamond pattern. And these are, vehicles from the 70s and 80s. So yeah, it stands to reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
refrigerator is covered, the mini fridge is covered in diamond quilt.
Right, right. So I don't know who decided that was like a look that they wanted to back, but it is. So yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at later model cars, that's almost an immediate disqualification for me, even if it's an otherwise lovely car. I
Hmm.
just don't love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've seen it in, yeah, I've noticed it in Mercedes and BMWs. I know it's in other stuff like probably Maseratis because they'll do all kinds of weird stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like I've seen it in Ferraris and things that I've seen photos of.
Well, Ferrari's a good example of, whatever you want to pay for,
Yeah.
they'll do. Yeah, you do see those cars with, and you see it like in the Rolls-Royce world also. They have a second Monroney sticker for
Mhm.
all the options.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Porsche to me is sort of an interesting one because you can get a premium more often than not for a PTS, a paint to sample car.
Mhm.
There's always an exclusivity there. But every so often you see one in a color that's like, really?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine was looking at a GT3 RS at the dealer, and he's got an interesting car collection. They had a purple GTS, sorry, GT3,
Hmm.
um, GT3 RS. Um, it was this dark purple, and it had basically white leather interior. Dude loves this car.
Yeah.
He really wanted to sort of throw caution to the wind and flush half of his fleet to buy this thing. Ultimately didn't for reasons that I'm not allowed to talk about. I'm looking at this purple GT3 RS and thinking, I I think they lost me at the white interior. I don't mind a purple car. We've had a purple car long time ago, but it had a dark gray interior. I felt like that was okay. Bright white, I've always got an issue with bright white or that light gray that from
Yeah.
like BMW L6s and L7s back in the
Yeah.
day. I just I am not that clean a person.
No, but I think on something like a GT3 RS, I'm fine with that because the for whoever's buying that car, i.e., not you or me, that's not a run down to McDonald's and get your coffee in the morning car, right? So the odds of spilling your coffee in it are minimal. You or I doing that, the odds are non-trivial. But
Well, I mean, as you know, I've got a buddy who's got a GT3 who drives it.
yeah,
I mean, and he could spill his
but
coffee in there.
but he's the exception.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, most people, if they buy that car, that interior will probably stay white.
Yeah, yeah, they're not doing the Starbucks
I
one.
still don't love the look though.
And I do.
Oh, all
I,
right.
I like it because it's something different. As you know, and our three or four listeners know, I'm still casually looking at 996s, and so many of them are silver on black, silver on gray, gray on gray, gray, black on gray. It's just there's no color there. So and GT3 RSs and GT3s and all those, I feel like there's more available color because you're at a completely different level on those cars. But so many cars, stepping away from the 996s, so many cars from the era that we love cars are not colors,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I'm on my second gray on gray BMW sedan. Why? Because a lot of them are gray on gray.
Well, and that's, when I did the most recent update to the fleet, one of the motivators for me was the color because it was a
Yeah.
color. So, right now there's sort of an interesting, weird rainbow of colors in my garage. Sure, there's a gold car, there's a dark gray car, but there's also it's the 380 SE,
What's the gold car?
the ML 500.
I always forget that car lives with you now.
But there's the Imola red M5, the Long Beach blue M2, and the
Hmm.
wife's car is dark blue. I forget the name of it. And so like there's actually colors again because I mean every time I look at a car, the first thing my wife says is, what shade of gray is it, basically? Because I had so many silver and gray cars.
Mhm.
And I actually really like that car makers, at least most of them actually, seem to be introducing an interesting palette of colors again. There
Well,
was, no, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, we've got two blue cars and the gray on gray, but we've also, the E30 is bronzette. And
Hmm.
that was a color I kind of hated in the 80s and 90s, but now it's like, oh, it's actually a color. It's
Yeah.
light champagne. It's like, Mercedes smoked silver, but it's actually a color at
I,
least.
I like that color and I like it with a dark interior.
Yeah,
Because so many of those cars in the 80s and 90s had, beige, tan, parchment
yeah,
interiors, and to me, that's sort of like old folks spec.
yeah.
But with a dark interior, like I really wish that the ML, I've seen some that are the same whatever gold color that is, with black interiors. It's like,
Mhm.
I wish I had the black interior. I mean, it's an appliance, that car, for the most
Yeah.
part. So I'm not losing sleep over it, and well, I almost got what I paid for. But with the black interior, I feel like it's kind of a neat looking car, and I like your car has the dark brown green,
Brownie, weird nutria color. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
because it's a nice combination, and it's not just beige, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I'm to the point where I'll almost take a non-color on half the car, right? Like I would do a silver on Boxster red,
oh
not
yeah,
see
yeah,
if you could find one of those. I would do a decent exterior color, black interior is fine, but if it's, blue on black, but man, that gray interior, it's so much gray. Just
well,
can't,
it's like the tan in those cars.
it's a
A
lot of
996 with tan interior without any of the,
con
add-on
contrast bits.
contrast bits. That's a lot of tan
It's a
interior.
lot of tan.
And yeah, I mean, people malign those interiors. I don't hate that interior. Is it cheap? Well, compared to, certainly the 911s after that, yeah, it feels cheap. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a great driving car. And I wouldn't not have one because of the interior design, but maybe because of the interior color.
And that's it. As soon as I see the full gray interior, to some degree, even the full tan interior, I'm out.
Yeah.
Um, a non-matching steering wheel goes a long way in those cars.
Yep.
I don't want a gray steering wheel. Okay, so I don't want a tan steering wheel. So if you can throw a little bit of contrast in it, it's not as bad. But I think the gray is worse than the tan, and that it's just there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So
I test drove that what was it, 2001 C4.
mhm,
It was a pretty blue color. It was that sort of medium to darkish blue.
mhm,
But it had the gray interior, and it was a lot of gray. Now that car with a black interior would have been really sharp.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
and I, on that vintage Porsche, well, I mean most vintage Porsches, I like a black interior.
mhm,
Black is sort of it's a good all round, the buttons will contrast, the gauge markings, the various details will contrast. In Porsches, I like when you've got a black interior and they've done either the colored stitching or the colored seat belts and stuff like that. I think it goes well
mhm.
with the look. But for me, the color that I really like in a 986 or 996, I like the dark brown interiors.
Yeah, I do too.
And I was just seeing somebody, I don't know, it must have been somewhere on social media talking about those cars and oh, this would be a great car if it didn't have the terrible brown interior. And I looked and it was the dark brown. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're on glue. That's gorgeous. Yeah, if it had been the tan, I might have agreed.
Well, and the one that I drove somewhat recently was a white on tan Cabrio, and it was a terrible, terrible car. Um, but I still like driving it. But that interior, because it was a dot one, that was a lot of tan. It was a real lot of tan.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
all those are great examples of factory. So this, and these companies have huge, expensive departments that come up with um, color palettes and stuff,
Mhm.
and sometimes you just look at it and go, no, not the direction I'd have chosen.
Right. Well, and it's obviously of its time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of cars were gray on gray, black on gray, not a color, not a color. For all the manufacturers. I mean, how many W210s, W211s? It's like, wow, that'd be a really nice car if it wasn't silver on gray.
One of the ones that sticks out in my mind is, and at the time, I thought it was just, it was a total like, what are you guys smoking? When my parents got back to the States and bought their first or leased their first company car, it was a Pontiac 6000 wagon, and it was silver with burgundy interior.
Hmm.
And at the time, I thought that's horrific. Now I love that color
Oh yeah.
combination.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, in hindsight, it's like, oh, that'd be great.
And we replaced it with the gray on gray wagon. And
Yeah.
at the time, like that was the sporty, that was the cool, whatever. In retrospect, like we basically had a Boxster color wagon,
Right.
the silver on red, not quite terracotta, but the silver on burgundy, and it was sharp for what it was. Yeah.
Did you guys order the SC wagon or just buy it? Because I know
No,
you
we
ordered
ordered
the
it.
first one.
No, we ordered both.
Okay.
So the first one, when it got stuccoed at the train station, which was funny. Um, if you don't know what that is, that's when they spray cement at the side of a building, except they missed, or it was windy or something. Father came home and we had to scrape stucco off the glass so we could at least drive the car. Anyway, but when that happened and the car had to be completely painted, we tried to get them to change the color to dark gray because at the time dark gray was really sort of the in trendy color.
Uh,
Um, That would have looked good with the burgundy as well. But so when then we got the second wagon in '89, the 6000 SE wagon, because apparently we loved 6000 wagons. There were rules about the what we could get and what we couldn't. And we liked us a station wagon. I kind of wanted a Taurus or a Sable actually, but anyway, that notwithstanding, when we got to that, the gray was like the super in, the
yeah.
gray on gray, and that was like, and those cars didn't come, the SEs didn't have a huge list of colors. It's funny because earlier they had, you could get them in like gold or blue or what have you. I
Mhm.
think for '89, it was gray, white, burgundy, and maybe like one other color. Not even black, I don't think.
The
Um,
burgundy would have been interesting with with the body kit and all that. That would
yeah.
have been
But I think they
interesting.
all had gray interior.
Oh,
They all
that's
had the same
that
gray
would have been all right.
interior.
Burgundy on gray.
Yeah, and that'd be all right. But again, gray was the trendy color. And that was sort of the time, right? I mean,
Oh, our Audi 5000 was dark gray on gray. And
right.
that car had a lot of black on the interior, so it broke it up.
Yeah.
Dash was black, the center stack and console, half the door panels were black. On the rear deck, the little headphone
Oh
jack
yeah, yeah.
that you could plug your mini jacks into. That was black. Now, the funny thing about that, I was thinking about that the other day for some reason. And that it was a little pod on the rear deck, and it had two headphone jacks, but it also had an on-off switch.
Oh,
So
I remember that.
when you flipped the switch, it turned off the car speakers and turned on the headphone jack. It wasn't like an auto
Oh,
detection thing. And I think to myself, like, that's really interesting. You could plug that in for your kids, but then the parents don't have any music. And maybe in the 80s that was okay. I don't know. Like I feel like it was an interesting feature, certainly factory, not fuckery, but I don't know that it was all that well thought out.
how many times did you use it in your car?
Zero,
Yeah.
0.0. We had that car easily 10 years.
Yeah. It's funny. You described that. All I can think of is my dad. My father had this hang up about headphones. And particularly, well, his hang up was if you listen to your music just a hair too loud, he could hear that.
Yeah.
drove him batty. And so I can only imagine in the car
Right.
with the headphones on, he has no music. And I'm sitting in the back seat with my headphones going. That would have that one time would have been all it took for him to like yank that out of the car or disable the feature or whatever,
Right. Or just throw your headphones out the car on the Merritt Parkway at 80 miles an hour.
100%, 100%.
Ah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I do remember your car had. I didn't realize it had an on-off switch. That's pretty funny because I mean, I thought it was a
We
cool
should we'll
feature.
find a picture and put that up also because I still look at those cars, if I find them, in my travels on the internet, and I always forget about that dumb thing, and until I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, that, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, never
I
used it.
I feel like in those days, manufacturers looked for things like that almost to differentiate themselves and to show that they're thinking, about the occupants and all that. Like their demonstration. It's like when you see the old E23 BMW 7 Series with the upgraded interior, the executive interior, and it's got the radio face in the armrest. It's the same Becker radio that was in the front, but it
Mhm.
was but you could control everything from that sideways
Yep,
mounted
yep,
face of the radio in the rear armrest.
yeah, and there was always another switch or two in there, and I don't remember if those were. I don't know that those had power rear seats, but there was always like one random switch in there, and
Mm.
I don't know what that switch ever did. If you know, comment below. But it seemed like there was always, not always, but depending on options, there was a switch in there, and
Probably turned on and off the speakers.
maybe, maybe,
Or it might have been like, assuming control.
maybe.
Um, because that may have been an independent thing, right? Either you could control it from the front or the back, but I can't imagine that they mirrored each other. Maybe they did.
Well, and maybe because they were push button stereos, they didn't have knobs. Maybe they were. That's
Yeah.
another, yeah, because I've never spent a lot of time in Euro E23s and certainly not taken one apart. I don't know how that whole thing worked.
But
And,
it was
and
factory.
by that, I mean, I don't know how it was wired. I don't
Right.
know if they were independent systems. All of a sudden you've got 2 extra miles of wiring just for the stereo.
I think in those days, to an extent, engineers and designers were just having fun.
Yeah, and it was all done with wires and switches and
Oh
relays.
yeah.
It wasn't like CAN bus and there's a control module that says, okay, when the switch is flipped, this is what you do. There was none of that.
There was a guy at the Cars and Coffee this morning. I drove the M5, and he was admiring, oh, what year is it? 2001. He goes, oh, you've got the headlights with the angel eyes. He goes, are those LED? I said, yes, but like that's a whole thing because for those that I don't think I've mentioned it here before, but they periodically just, flicker because LEDs in an older car that do their own thing. And so I had to go through this whole explanation of why, yeah, it's really great in theory, you
Right,
know, but I'm in this slow process of changing every LED I can find in that car to an incandescent light bulb.
right.
Uh, and this other guy goes, yeah, the taillights look really good with the halogen bulbs, and yeah, it's good. I'll get through the rest of the car someday.
Yeah,
That is fuckery.
that is straight up fuckery. And yeah, the head unit could pass for factory, but the way they installed it with all the lighting controls are in, that is straight up fuckery.
Yeah, anybody that's interested in buying my M5, always for sale, price varies, should know that the third brake light inexplicably doesn't work. There's wires to lots of places that, yeah, I'll never actually understand. The rear camera disables the stereo but doesn't actually turn on. And what's the other thing? Oh yeah, and you can't open the trunk from the trunk handle, but you can open it from the switch in the console and from the key. So, and I think there must be a key slot on that trunk, isn't there?
There it is.
Yeah, I thought so. So yeah, I mean it's perfectly accessible and everything, but that's sort of, old school proper fuckery. Like that's
Yeah, there's no question that that was aftermarket.
yeah,
Like, no German would have done that.
no, no. And anything I say in response to that is going to sound
Like we have
inappropriate.
to edit it
Like we have to edit it out. And I don't even have anything in mind, but I just started going down that road. So if it's not German, what is it? Just don't go there.
Yeah, don't go there.
Um, but yeah, I was trying to think of other sort of examples where you're sort of on the fence. I mean, like an E39, you know that it's not factory because it's CarPlay. Okay.
Right.
And it does weird things. But there are some where you do look at it, and I mean, whether it's a set of wheels that are on it, whether it's the stance. I mean, and some of it's, when you go back to older cars, wow, did DeLoreans really come from the factory with the front end jacked up that high? Well, yes, they did, because they
Yes, they
had to,
did.
right? Well, same with old BMWs, right? What was the first thing you did in an E3 when you got it? It was you remove those spacers
Yep. Mhm.
because the ride height was too high. People do it in old 911s, where they do the torsion bars
Yeah, they
and
reclock
adjust.
the torsion bar.
Yeah. Um, but that's, I mean, that's not quite fuckery in the same sense, just because A, it was mandated, and B, you know, it wasn't so obvious, just like in that blatant, that, here is a really hideous Range Rover sort of way. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
no, well, you see it in G wagons too, right? Like the G wagon, if you go
Oh
back
yeah.
to the 90s, even the early mid 2000s, it's still a handsome rig. But then when they started trying to make it more modern with wheels and body kits and side exhaust, to try to be more extreme, and then people started backdating them. So now you see, a 98 a 98, G320 that's been brought up to, G63 AMG spec.
Yeah.
You think to yourself, "Hmm, it doesn't matter if it was done to one from 1995 or, 2020, before the new version came out. It looks like fuckery, but it's actually factory."
Well, or I mean, some of the stuff that was factory on those that you kind of go like the brush guards and stuff like that. I mean, the accessories catalog sometimes could be the worst nightmare for a car.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, Range Rover is another example of that, where on some of the earlier cars, some of those baubles were sort of tasteful. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you wanted to make your Range Rover look a little bit more off-roady, rugged, so you had the brush guards on the front end or whatever. Okay. Well, by the time you got to really the L322s, and you see one of those with the Land Rover branded stuff on them, and it's these huge, thick metal, coated in plastic or rubber, and they're
Yeah.
ginormous and they look ridiculous. And you see that, I mean, that's on G wagons all the time. I don't need a cage around my tail lights, and
Yeah,
neither does anybody else.
you see it on like Discovery and Discovery 2s
Yeah.
also. Like same style uh as the 322's got these big chunky things. And it's funny because a Discovery, if you really look at a Disco or Disco 2, the proportions are a little weird, right?
Mm.
Especially a Disco 2. Like the wheelbase is a little short for the body. They've kind of a
Yeah.
bit overhang. And then you put these appendages on them, and it's even worse.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's sort of an interesting. I guess it's both in a sense, because it didn't, the vehicle didn't emerge from the factory with all that shit bolted to it,
Hmm.
but the factory was happy to sell it to you
Right, right.
and install it for you.
Yep, yep.
So the factory actually, begat the fuckery.
So it's both.
Oh, hadn't thought about a third category.
Yeah,
Factory, fuckery, or both.
yeah, yeah. One plus one equals three.
In that case, in that case. But if anybody watching has any good examples of factory versus fuckery, or even put up a picture and make us guess, I'd love to see some, because it's fascinating, especially when you find out it's factory and it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. What were they thinking is a whole different thing when it's a team of, German engineers, as opposed to, Billy Bob in his garage,
yeah, yeah.
and his, sitting in front of his laptop with a credit card.
Mm,
I may have been Billy Bob in my garage from time to time, so I can say that.
yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay, I mean, so one that sticks out and is sort of pertinent in my world right now is chrome wheels on an 80s, 70s or 80s vintage Mercedes.
Mm,
And it's very much, in that case, regional fuckery. Now, ostensibly, it's both again, because Mercedes would sell you the chromed wheels. And in this case, I'm thinking of the bunt style wheels, or Mexican hat, as some people call them. My 380 SE, it's a 1985, came to me with chrome wheels. And I'm sure when it was new, that owner selected, I'd like to have the chrome wheel package because it was all over the West Coast. It was very much a West Coast thing.
now, was that actual factory or dealer installed?
Probably dealer,
Probably dealer, yeah, because
factory
you,
fuckery dealer, or
well, right, but I mean, dealer accessory is a whole different category, right? Because
that's
you
like
get the
gold
chrome wheels,
badges.
chrome badge, gold badge
Yeah.
packages, wheel arch, chrome wheel arch trim,
No, I think we can agree that any wheel arch trim is fuckery regardless of where it came from.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
yeah. No, you're not wrong. Well, and to some degree, chrome wheels too.
Well,
Um,
yeah, so the end of that story is in my garage right now while I wait for the car to get painted is a very nice set of silver alloy wheels to be installed on that car once the paint's done.
yeah, yeah.
And I will take great joy in throwing those chrome rims, unless somebody here wants them,
Mhm.
into a dumpster at the dump, because they're horrible. And
Are they
there's
well done? Because you see a lot that, and granted, these are all, 40 odd years old now. So maybe they were well done back then, but 40 years later, maybe not so much.
Well, I was going to say that I think they were probably pretty well done at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the chrome, it's got that corrosion on it in places and stuff. I mean, you can't clean them because, I mean, you'll like rip your hand open, after you do one swipe around the rim, and you'll have shredded whatever you're using as a cleaning
Mm.
rag, and will likely have cut yourself. Um, so yeah, no, I picked up a set of refinished factory, those on that car, it's a 6.5 inch by
Mm.
14. And I thought about doing the 15 inches. In fact, I was sort of on the waiting list. I didn't know. So the Mini Light factory actually, or not factory, but warehouse in the States actually burned down.
Oh, Jesus.
And so that's why everything was out of stock. Was
Oh.
that the warehouse burned down, because I was corresponding with one of the resellers, and his website had said that he had them. And so originally I was just going to buy a set of the 15s, the aftermarket mini lights, which I've put on other cars, and they're good quality. They look the part, but my car had brand new, or has brand new tires, and they're the 14 inch,
Mhm.
195s or 205 14s that fit on the 6.5 by 14 wheels. And I thought, okay, I buy the wheels. I'm still going to have to buy a set of tires that I don't really need.
Mhm.
I don't want to store these wheels for a rainy day because I hate chrome wheels and I will never put them on anything. So it was just like, nah, I'm not gonna wait out the 15s. I'm just gonna get 14s. And the price was reasonable. I mean,
Mm.
guaranteed straight and all that. The finish is a little, I don't know, slightly thick on them, but I'm not losing sleep over it. But that, yeah, I guess dealer installed is a whole different angle. And maybe that's more fuckery than, because it's not factory. It's
Right.
not it's not the way that, Bruno Sacco intended the W126 Mercedes to look.
Right. And because the dealers know they can sell this stuff, i.e. chrome wheels in LA in 1985, they're not thinking beyond, well, we're just going to sell all these and make money on them.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, interesting, interesting to weigh that. And it's sort of a fun game at, car events. So
Mhm.
did it come that way? It sort of, put your bet down before you ask the owner.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like that Maserati bi-turbo 4x4 I saw today.
Pretty sure it didn't come that way.
I don't know, man. Maserati's a weird company.
But
I'm giving it like a 60/40. It's fuckery.
what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, that was it.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
That was it.
So we were on the same wavelength. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no,
I get
I'm
you.
giving maybe 70/30, but
That's probably as good a place as any to sort of stick a pin in it.
yeah, yeah, we can do that.
Um,
Well, as we like to say, if you made it this far, thanks for sticking around to the end, and presumably we'll see you on the next one.
yeah, and if you have
Really
any,
hated this.
yeah, if you have any comments on any of the stuff we talked about or pictures of fuckery in particular, drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from. Can you put pictures in the comments on a YouTube video? I don't even know.
No, but we'll cross post this to the Facebook, and they
To the
can look.
Facebook and the blog. I don't know. Put a picture in, make a comment, do something. Show us that you're here. And with
See you on
that,
the next
yeah,
one.
we'll catch you next time. Take care.